The storm outside slammed against the shelter walls with a rage that felt almost personal. Wind howled through the gaps in the metal siding, whistling like a cry for help. Rainwater dripped in slow, steady taps from the leaking ceiling, forming tiny puddles that reflected the flickering lights above. Ethan Hale stepped inside with his daughter cradled against his chest, shaking off droplets from his coat. He wasn't supposed to be here long. Just drop off a donation, sign the paperwork, and go back to the silent penthouse that had started to feel too big for just two people. Lila, half asleep, nuzzled closer into his shoulder as he adjusted her weight. But before he could even hand over the blankets he brought, he heard footsteps, small, hurried, uneven. "Sir, please wait." The voice cracked like it carried days of exhaustion behind it. Ethan turned, instinctively bracing himself, and saw a little boy running toward him. The child stopped a few feet away, gasping for air, his breath visible in the cold. His clothes were soaked straight through, the sleeves hanging past his wrists, and his sneakers squelched softly with each shaky step. He couldn't have been older than 9, but his eyes, wide, scared, determined, looked like they had lived far more life than any child ever should. "My sister," the boy tried again, but emotion caught his voice. He swallowed hard, forcing the words out. "Sir, my sister can't walk. She's hurt. And the shelter people said there's no more space for kids tonight. We tried, sir, we really tried. But she can't sleep outside in this storm. Please." His chin trembled, but he didn't cry. "Please, can we stay with you? Just for tonight. She's so cold." Ethan felt something inside him shift, an old instinct he tried to ignore ever since Lila's mother passed away, leaving him afraid to get attached to anything fragile again. But the boy's voice, the fear, the courage, the responsibility he carried in his tiny shoulders, it hit Ethan somewhere deep. Lila lifted her sleepy head, her small hand curling into Ethan's coat. "Daddy," she looked scared, she whispered, pointing toward the back of the room. Only then did Ethan notice her, the girl sitting on a cracked wooden bench near the wall. She was tiny, maybe 7, bundled in nothing but a thin hoodie and a torn scarf wrapped around her legs. Her face was pale, her lips slightly blue, and she clutched a stuffed rabbit missing an ear like it was the only steady thing in her world. She didn't speak. She didn't move much. She only watched him with big, quiet eyes, eyes that begged without asking. Ethan approached slowly. "What's your name?" he asked the boy. "Finn," he said softly. "And that's my sister, Arya." Ethan knelt down beside the girl. "Arya, can you hear me?" She nodded weakly, her voice barely a whisper when she said, "Finn tried to carry me, but he got tired." Finn stepped forward quickly, protective. "I'll carry her again, sir. I can do it. I just don't want her to get hurt more." Ethan looked at him, really looked. This wasn't mischief or manipulation. This was desperation wrapped in love. He exhaled. "Finn, you both can come with me." The boy blinked like he didn't understand. We can?" "Yes," Ethan said. "Let me keep you safe tonight." Arya's tiny fingers reached out, brushing against Ethan's sleeve as she whispered, "Thank you, sir." And in that trembling, fragile moment, a door inside Ethan opened, one he didn't know he still had, and 2 children he'd never met stepped directly into the space he once thought nothing could fill. Ethan's penthouse door clicked open with a soft echo that made Finn freeze where he stood. The warmth spilling out from inside felt unreal, almost forbidden, like stepping into someone else's dream. He held tightly onto Arya's hand, as if afraid she might disappear the moment he loosened his grip. Lila hurried inside first, kicking off her tiny pink boots and turning back with a bright, innocent smile. "It's warm here," she said. "Come in. Daddy says cold nights need warm rooms." Finn looked down at his soaked sneakers dripping onto the marble floor. We'll try not to make a mess," he said quietly, voice small but honest. Ethan shook his head gently. "It's just water, Finn. Come on." He guided them in, closing the door against the storm that raged on the other side. Arya shivered as another gust of wind howled past the windows, and instinctively, Ethan crouched beside her. "Let's look at that leg, sweetheart." Arya didn't speak, only nodded and clutched her rabbit tighter. Finn helped her settle on the couch, his hands hovering over her as if he needed to make sure she didn't break. Ethan knelt with a first aid kit, rolling up the makeshift torn scarf she'd used earlier. Her ankle was swollen and bruised, a deep purple that told a story of pain she had tried to hide. "You've been walking on this?" Ethan asked quietly. Arya lowered her head. "I didn't want Finn to carry me anymore. He was tired." Finn stiffened. "I'm not tired. I can carry you forever if I have to." Ethan paused, hearing the ache behind the boy's bravado. "Finn," he said, voice steady but gentle, "you've been taking care of her for a long time, haven't you?" Finn swallowed hard. "Mom told me I had to. Before she left." His fingers twisted in the hem of his shirt. "I promised her I'd keep Arya safe. No matter what." Ethan cleaned the wound carefully while listening, never rushing the boy, never looking away. He'd seen children in board meetings cling to expensive toys like shields, but he'd never seen a child hold responsibility like armor. Finn watched every move Ethan made, ready to step in if his sister winced even a little. "You did keep her safe," Ethan said. "You got her here. You found help." Finn shook his head, tears forming but refusing to fall. "If I was really good at it, she wouldn't have gotten hurt." Ethan stopped and met his eyes. "You're 9 years old. And you carried a little girl through a storm. Most adults couldn't do what you did." Finn blinked, stunned by the kindness he wasn't expecting. The tension in his shoulders loosened, just a fraction, but enough for Ethan to notice. Arya tugged at her brother's sleeve. "Finn, can we stay here forever? I like the warm." Finn's face colored with embarrassment. "Arya, don't say that, it's just for tonight." But Arya looked at Ethan instead, her eyes large and searching. "Is it?" Ethan didn't answer, not yet, but something inside him tightened in a way he recognized too well. A feeling he hadn't let himself name for years. A sense of belonging, forming where he least expected it. Morning crept into the penthouse slowly, spilling warm gold across the floor as if trying to wash away every shadow of last night's storm. Ethan stood in the kitchen, flipping pancakes while the quiet hum of the heater filled the room. It had been years since anyone else's footsteps echoed in his home besides Lila's. But today, there were 2 extra pairs of shoes by the door, tiny, worn, mismatched, and something about them made the house feel strangely complete. Finn sat at the counter, shoulders stiff, hands folded in his lap like he wasn't sure if he was allowed to touch anything. His damp hair had dried in soft waves overnight, but the exhaustion still lingered behind his eyes. In front of him was a plate stacked with pancakes, fluffy, warm, comforting, but he stared at them like they were fragile. "You can eat," Ethan encouraged gently. "They're for you." Finn nodded but didn't reach out. I don't want to take too much. We usually share one." He swallowed. "I'm not used to all this." Lila hopped into the chair beside him, swinging her legs cheerfully. "My daddy makes too many pancakes. He says breakfast is a hug you can eat." She nudged the plate toward Finn. "So eat the hug." A tiny, startled laugh escaped Finn before he could stop it. Ethan placed a second plate on the counter. "There's plenty. And more in the pan. You're not taking anything from anyone. You're allowed to be full here." Finn's shoulders finally dropped, like he had been holding his breath for months. He picked up his fork slowly, carefully, as if afraid someone might snatch the food away. The first bite made his eyes widen. "This is really good," he murmured shyly. Daddy's pancakes are famous, Lila said proudly. They fix sad feelings. Across the room, on the couch, Arya stirred beneath Lila's favorite blanket. She blinked at the sunlight, then at the unfamiliar ceiling, then at Ethan in the kitchen. Her small voice drifted across the room. Finn, are we still safe? Finn twisted in his chair, instantly attentive. Yeah. We're in the warm place. Ethan approached with gentle footsteps. Good morning, Arya. Your leg should feel better today. Does it hurt? She shook her head. Only a little. Lila hurried over and carefully climbed beside her, offering her a small plush unicorn. You can borrow this. Her name is Star. She only stays with special friends. Arya hugged the unicorn to her chest, her eyes glowing with a softness Ethan hadn't seen last night. Thank you. Finn watched the exchange, and his expression shifted, hope and fear battling inside him. He looked at Ethan, voice barely above a whisper. Why are you being so nice to us? Ethan hesitated, not because he didn't know the answer, but because admitting it out loud felt bigger than words. He saw the way Finn stayed alert even while sitting, the way Arya clung to that borrowed unicorn like it was safety itself, the way Lila looked at the two new children with the quiet certainty only kids understood, that some people feel like family the moment they walk into your life. You asked me for help, Ethan said softly. And I don't turn away children who need a home. Not ever. Finn's breath shook. A home? Ethan glanced at the two siblings, then at Lila, who was now tucking the blanket around Arya with surprising tenderness. He didn't know what the future held, didn't know how complicated it might get, but he knew one thing with absolute certainty: these two weren't strangers anymore. For as long as you need one, he finished. Finn covered his face with his hands, overwhelmed, his small body trembling with relief he'd never allowed himself to feel before. And in that golden morning light, surrounded by pancakes, warmth, and the soft laughter of children, a broken family that had been lost in the cold found something they never expected: a beginning.